So you go your way, I go. Just when you're
Excelsior, motherfuckers! We are back with this very special issue of the comic book horror show. We are back. Joe the psychologist, my brother from another mother. How are you, bro?
I am good. As you know, we were doing the dry January, so cheers, my brother. I can finally toast with you.
Cheer. We got some beer. Yeah, we're gonna talk
Beer
some
and
good
a
shit.
toast to Creature Commandos.
Well, I don't think there are any Nazis here.
That's what a Nazi would say.
What?
Very excited. It's a DC property. I have no idea about the comic book. Let me rephrase that. I know of the comic book. I never read it. And again, a lot of these characters were individual characters that were put together. As far as the DC book, they had an original Creature Commandos book prior.
There was an issue that was released with Frankenstein, basically the team.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I want to say it was for the new 52, which I have. I was going to dig out my boxes, but I went out for lunch with some friends today and didn't get a chance to. But I think for the new 52, they were in there. But they had comics before. They've appeared in other comics throughout the years. So, I want to say, I thought it was like if it wasn't the late 70s, it was the early 80s when the Creature Commandos were introduced.
Creature Commandos streaming on Max by James Gunn. This is a series that once I saw the first few episodes, and I think me and you had the same exact thought in mind too, without even speaking to each other, is we gotta cover this, man. We gotta cover this somehow because it's not a horror show per se, but there is underlying horror themes within these characters and what makes these characters and where they came from, the trauma a lot of them went through to get to where they are now. And to me, I always say horror is in that trauma, man, because we all experience that. And some of these backstories are pretty fucked up. Let's elaborate a little bit. Let's talk about these characters and what makes them who they are and what makes it so dark and in a way sad. So I'm gonna start with you. Give me a character. Who you got? Let's talk.
I'm gonna give her a little special shout out and talk about her first, because I'm sure the other ones will get a little bit more talked on. But Nina Mazursky. Nina was an interesting one because all the other ones have special powers. Nina is one that basically she was born with her lungs outside of her chest. And I mean, that off the bat, in some horror movies that we watch, anybody with their organs on the outside, it leads to them being, crazy people. However, it did not happen with Nina. Nina, her father had said that she can sense things, which gave the feeling that she might be a slight empath, even though never spoken of. But if you watch the series, you see she knows how to speak to certain of the commandos at the right time and know what to say. I loved her story, it reminiscent of, a scientist who's a parent who decides to try something on their child to save them. Now, this wasn't like something, he was doing because he wanted to create a super child. He was trying to figure out a way for his poor infant daughter to learn how to walk without having this giant contraption. And when I rewatched the series again, that's why I wanted to start with her, because, if you guys haven't seen the series, then it's going to get spoiled for you. But, Nina's was one of the last origins told. And while not in the monstrous way, it was, when the bride asked her to do something, the bride said, "You're the only monster among us." And it was just like, wow, poor Nina. Like, even within her own people, they saw her as a monster. And it was nothing of her own creation. Her father injected her with all of these DNAs from different animals. And now she, developed gills, got the fins. And it's tragic that
I like how you said that too. how all the monsters saw her as a real monster, and the only
Yeah.
one that saw her as a person was the robot.
Hmm. The only one that spoke to her as a person was the
Mhm.
robot. So yeah, like with Nina, the horror of Nina's backstory is that something was done to actually help her, but in the end, it still ended up not only making it worse for her, but it alienated her. And then here she found a group, and then within a group, she felt alienation again.
There's a reason why they saved her story for last, I believe, because they wanted to give you every other creature commando prior to her and what made them who they are. But they all had like horrible shit they had to deal with and horrible shit that they had to do themselves.
Yeah.
The only
Um,
horrible thing that that happened, only the horrible thing within her story was her being born the way she was.
Yeah.
Because from the jump, she had no control and no say over what happened to her. Her dad did that to her to save her, or like you said, to give her better quality of life. But the first mistake he was putting her in a school with regular kids. In my opinion, he should have never
Yeah.
done that. He
No.
wanted to give her a regular life, but you know how kids are, and that's gonna really traumatize a young child. She was a child, whether she looked like whether what she looked or not, she was still a child. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
to go through that, and even to the very end, she was only in Belle Reve, which is the prison where all of these creature commandos are locked up in. The only reason why she got in there was because of who she was.
Yeah. She got
People
caught in
feared
Star
her for
City.
nothing. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. She didn't do anything to deserve to be in there other than just looking the way she looks, man.
Did you see G.I. Robot, like his character, like how his interaction was with Nina? Like anything you think it came from his background?
Yeah, I love the interaction between him and Nina because again, it served a purpose. It took two characters that quite honestly, like Nina being Nina and G.I. Robot was a character that was programmed to think a certain way and have one objective in mind, and that was to kill fucking Nazis, bro. That's it. I mean, everywhere he went, are you a Nazi? Are you a Nazi? Because he wanted to smoke you, you know? But again, that's all he knew. Like, he didn't know any better. Like, when he was brought up by that character voiced by Michael Rooker. I forgot his name, but it's funny because the one character that was a Nazi and probably a horrible human being, when they showed him, he was a guy with his living room. He had like 7 cats or whatever. If you notice too, all the cats in that scene were on GI Robot, with the exception maybe one was kind of like on the
The other
human
one.
character. So
Yeah.
that's almost a conscious. Oh, they like the robot more than this fucking evil bastard. But again, the evil bastard was portrayed as a regular human, and he seemed like a normal guy, and that's scary. That's the scariest shit right there because look at the atrocities they probably, get behind the scenes and kind of and not commit per se, but glorify, And GI Robot, again, he was put in the read because his programming. He was programmed to just kill Nazis.
And that
He did everyone a favor by removing all of these fucking evil bastards, but yet he paid for it as a villain. And again, without even realizing he did anything wrong, my man was thrown into this fucking prison. So it sucks. But G.I. Robot's great because I did a little digging into these characters. I mean, this is a character that was Star Spangled Stories issue 101 of February 1962. Probably maybe the oldest character on this
long
here.
time. Yeah.
And the interesting fact about that was in his story, he was, I mean, you would know, Sergeant Rock was part of his battalion. What was it
Yeah.
called?
Oh,
Jesus
damn
Christ.
it.
East Company, right? East Company?
Easy
Something like that.
Easy Company.
Easy Company.
Easy
Something like that. Yeah, so he served with them during World War II. And now this is a character that, again, we went back and in the comic books, I think the nickname that I read was Joe. That's oh shit, Joe the Psychologist.
Yeah.
Because again, he had a lot of different aliases over the years as far as that robot character. So his history in DC was a little bit different compared to the others because it wasn't just one character. It was a lot of different programs with the robots. But I want to get into him real quick because there is one thing that connects him to the comics, and they kind of hinted at this, but not to spend too much time on it. But the Metalman. Talk to me about the Metalman.
Well, that's because it's funny because when Will Magnus showed up, the creator of the Metal Men, who was voiced by Alan Tudyk. I thought he would have fixed that because, when you're seeing his backstory and he's brought out to meet everyone, his only objective is for Nazis. And again, we're in 2025.
Joe,
We don't
are
have
you
Nazis
a
now.
Nazi?
I know, I love it. Well, and it's funny as soon as they told them, yes, they are Nazi. Like you can see the robots smile for it. But I would have thought Will would have done something with his programming because Will recognized that he is somewhat sentient and is trying to learn.
Yes, exactly.
Which is why with Nina you saw like that the robot had a human side to it. So it sucks that Will didn't fix that for him. So when the guy found him, he is still with the programming that he was given that he has to kill Nazis. So of course, when the fucking screen goes up and there's the Nazi emblem, he went, "Uh-oh, Nazi." And it's the way he did it because it was sad because it felt like he found a
by
friend.
that character,
Yeah. If he had a friend and then now the friend. So again, the robot is still trying to learn friends, and friend Nina, was the only one in. That's why when I was mentioning Nina and you had mentioned GI Robot, I wanted to, bring him up with you just because I love the connection, and of course when poor guy got it, like the only one that looked for him was Nina.
So, cheers to the Tin Man.
Cheers to the Tin Man.
Joe the psychologist, what is more horror than the misunderstood monster? Like, I know Frankenstein's in the show as well, but this is a classic Frankenstein's monster because poor Weasel. I mean, he was called John Doe, I believe, in the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a name. He's just Weasel. No one knows who he is. When we
talk.
saw him in the Suicide Squad, I mean, they gave him the biggest rap out of all. He murdered like 27 children, I think it was. Ate them. That's what they claimed, and of course we believe that because we see this character. He looks all disgusting in the Suicide Squad. Oh my god, you don't want to go near this motherfucker. Put it that way. But in this interpretation of him, because James Gunn went and said that Suicide Squad is not canon. But
some of the stuff that happened,
if it's brought up, whatever's brought up within the Creature Commandos, they want that's canon. That it happened. So I'm gonna go ahead and say Weasel was canon in Suicide Squad because they brought up the same events that led him to where he is.
Moldo Cortez.
Yeah, what's that?
Moldo Cortez, where they fought Starfish.
There you go. Thank you. Oh, Starro.
Starro. Sorry.
But Weasel is, man. I don't think I cried, bro. I'm not gonna lie. Ricky Van had a couple of tears running down his face because it involved animals and children, the things I hate the most, seeing getting hurt in any media, and the fact that this poor, I take in stray cats, not in here, but I take care of them outside. I feed them, I make sure they're good, and to me, Weasel was a stray cat. He just was looking for food, looking for companionship, and he ran into these kids. And the kids, they don't, of course, the kids are pure. They don't have like evil intentions, so they see this character that looks like he's a creature, let's say. He's like a rat. I don't know what you would call him. He looks like a walking ferret, possum.
He looks like a weasel.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I get what you mean. But think about that, though. Even in a sense, this is the classic tragic monster story interjected within the Creature Commandos. Chasing Squirrels was the name of the episode. And I mean, when he was sleeping and he's like having that nightmare, and the bride and Mina are kind of like going back and forth about, I wonder what he's dreaming about. And they just chasing squirrels. But my man was going through this trauma, man, over and over. And what really happened was these kids that befriended him, they went into this basement, uninvited. We're kids. We do that shit. We see a door open.
Yeah, the school door was left open, and they
want to explore. They want to go in there, and they're trying to be rebellious. And they go in there, they start playing around. Long story short, is they create a fire. a fire is created, unfortunately, and this real creepy guy walks by. I don't know was he what do you call this guy? Gardener or I
I
don't
think
know.
it was groundskeeper.
Groundskeeper, thank you.
Groundskeeper, because
That's the
he
word I
didn't
was
live
looking
that far.
for.
Yeah, groundskeeper.
And of course he's gonna see this monster, but from his point of view, the monster was kind of,
Scary looking.
especially when they had the fire and he's like dragging the little girl by her fucking shirt trying to save her. He's trying to save her. But they call the police. He goes in there and he starts bucking, bop, 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 bop. And poor Weasel, you can see him like just trying to save this girl. He's taking shots for her, but he keeps going. He don't care. He's taking bullets. He just wants to get this little girl out of here. But unfortunately, all the kids perished. But there wasn't 27 of them, and he did not
No.
eat them.
Nope.
He was trying to protect him, and that is how he ended up in Belle Reve. So, from my point of view, watching that's classic horror, man. Like that right there, like, the horror to me was what happened to the children and how poor Weasel, who just wanted nothing more than just
Save 'em.
companionship. Yeah,
He
exactly.
could have saved them if the police and that
If
guy
they
did not
never
show
got
up.
involved,
If
thank
they would
you.
have seen he was he could have dragged out some of the other kids
Yeah, so
had they not started shooting at him.
it's crazy, like going back and in retrospect, in hindsight, essentially, and seeing what he was in the Suicide Squad and then what he is here, knowing that he was always innocent. 'Cause that's the one character, man. I would never go around that motherfucker. But
Well, and it sucks because he can't talk.
exactly, he can't
um,
express. He can't like
no.
an animal. Like you have a pet. Like you don't know when they're sick or when there's an issue, and they're trying to get your attention, but they don't know how to communicate it properly. So they just make noise, and unless you really know your family member, because that's what they are, man. They're family members to me. It's excruciating not knowing what's going on with these characters. Well, I say
Yeah.
characters, but I'm talking about pets in general. But that translates to the Weasel character. I mean, we don't know why he's like that.
I was getting ready to say that.
All right, well, go for it.
No, because it like everybody else, you got their origin, how they came to be. Our moment of horror for Weasel was this moment in time that he keeps reliving in his head. We
Yes.
still didn't know how he became the Weasel.
Good shout.
I mean,
That's right.
was he born this way and became fair? Nina left because she knew that she wanted to rid her father of, having to take care of this. Like, I belong out here.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
did
yeah.
Weasel make the same decision? But see, Nina was able to talk. Weasel never was. And it's funny because Sean Gunn voices the Weasel, and you're like, well, I mean, how hard is the work? But I think I've seen that sometimes even with voice, they sometimes still do them with green screens so they can capture motions and facial
He did because he did
movement.
that for the live action version.
So that's
too.
what I'm saying. So with Weasel's character, he never had words, but the sounds he made, it's like
Think
when
about that, bro.
when
You're right.
Daisy licks me, like I'll sit there if I get
By the way,
home.
Daisy's his dog.
Daisy's my dog. I'm sorry. When I get home, I've created this weird little thing where I have to like get down on the floor on my back so she can lick my face. And when she makes little noises, the happier, like, so that when she's really happy, you hear her, like, she's like, and Weasel had no other way to communicate but with sounds. And like
And
when I
you're
rewatched it
cross-eyed
again,
too, man, so-
oh, that's the worst
That
part.
makes him, that makes him even more sympathetic to me, bro.
Well, and in the comics, he's fought everyone. I mean, I want to say he's appeared in the Flash, Firestorm. Like I want to say almost across the
I
board.
like how you say that because he did appear. His first appearance was in the Fury of Firestorm issue 36. I want to say 85.
I had that.
So
I
he's
had
not
that.
an
That's
old
why
character.
I remembered him. Is because I had that issue. So I knew that's how far. But I like the way that they have done him live action and in the series.
Yeah.
But it's almost, we only got that little brief thing. And when I rewatched it again, because when we decided we were going to do this, I told you I'm going to rewatch it. And honestly, it didn't even take that. Once it's basically as long as those movies that we complain
It's not long
are long.
because the
It's
series
not,
was
no.
8 episodes or what is it? 8, 7, 8,
seven.
what-
7
And they're
episodes.
like 20 minutes each. So
Yeah, so it's basically one of those long movies we complain about, except a lot more faster and a lot better.
a lot better. Yeah.
When I rewatched that part again, for a couple times, I'm on my phone because I was looking up to refresh myself. When it got to that, down went the phone. And I sat there and I was like, I love that. Out of all these characters and the horrible ways that they came about, we got a different story out of one of the characters. And it's to show that even though this thing looks like a feral, like raving weasel, it's actually this soft little thing that just wants to play,
Bro,
and get
it's
some
the
attention.
classic Frankenstein story.
Yeah.
Frankenstein drowned the little girl because he knew no better. He just wanted a companion, a friend, and he drowned her because he was playing with her. He didn't know any better.
No.
Weasel probably wouldn't do that now because he would know, all right, I'm gonna kill. But it's still the same concept where you got this character that is because who he is, he's an outcast because people can't understand him. Not just figuratively speaking because you can't speak, but they just are afraid and they don't even want to attempt to understand who he is. So
Yeah.
that's fucked up.
Well, because you the way he looks. I mean, if that thing
Yeah,
came
I agree.
next to you, if it came next to you, you go, you're gonna be like, oh fuck, I gotta go. This thing's gonna attack me. I mean,
Yeah.
let's be honest.
I always laugh about who's that actor that was in Suicide Squad that they sat next to him. They sat him next to Weasel. What's his name? That
Well, the one that plays Slipknot.
yeah. Wait, no. The James Gunn's Suicide Squad.
Yeah, no.
It's
Slipknot
not-
was in
no,
that one.
No, Slipknot was in the first one.
Oh wait.
Who's
You're
the God? He's that actor that no one likes. Jesus. He was in
Pete
Body,
Davidson.
Body. Yeah.
Pete Davidson. Pete Davidson. As soon as
Pete
he said
Davidson
no one
goes. He
likes-
goes to yo. Dude, what is his name?
When Weasel bit Phosphorus, like you knew that Weasel had done it because he has just had it with Dr. Phosphorus.
Yeah.
And it's like Dr. Phosphorus' character is a
Dick.
very interesting one.
He's a dick.
He is a dick. Come on, go ahead. Tell me about how much of a dick he is.
Well, I mean, come on, man. If your wife and kid were murdered and they dragged your body, tossed it on top of your dead family, put your DNA all over them so you're blamed for it, then they toss you into some radiation fucking chamber, attempting to like disintegrate you. Instead, it turns you into this radioactive fucking like a nuclear powerhouse, bro. You're gonna be a little fucking pissed off too at the world, you know what I'm saying? And let's talk about Alexander James Sartorius, man. This character, I'll be honest, bro. He's my favorite character. Not the best character, but my favorite character. He's a metahuman, of course. I did my research for this guy because once I seen him, a flaming skeleton, bro. You know how I love characters like that, bro. You know what I'm saying?
I did love the
Yeah.
them commenting in the series when the bride says, "Listen, Ghost Rider."
Yeah,
It was their way of
That was
going,
awesome.
"Shut up, audience.
That's awesome.
We know what you're gonna say."
Interesting enough, I think from all these characters here, I mean, his arch nemesis is Batman. He's got the biggest fucking.
Well,
I think he's got the big dog going after him. I mean,
the guy that created him, I want to say
it was Steve Englehart
Um,
and Walt Simonson, bro. You're a
No, no, I'm
Marvel
talking about-
guy, you know.
well,
him.
no, but the mafia guy that created
Rupert
him.
Thorne was a Batman villain, yes. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because you wouldn't know this, but this looks like a character, Rupert Thorne we're talking about, that would have appeared in one of Christopher Nolan's movies, because he's more like those, he's a gangster, and he's one of
Yeah.
those characters, so he is an actual character that's in the DC universe
Mhm.
related to Batman, and he was taken out, so he's, remember, Creature Commandos is DCEU, is that what it's called now, or no? DC, what's it called, DCU,
No,
right?
DCEU is the old one.
So
don't-
DCU,
we don't have-
my bad, my bad.
I'm just for right now. I'm gonna call it the Gunverse until we get
So-
an actual.
Well, that means he's gone. If he's dead in Creature Commandos, and he ain't coming back for what
No,
Phosphorus
no.
did to him. So Phosphorus is a character, interesting enough, where he was a scientist turned into a mega crime boss, essentially, because he was looking for a cure for cancer, was doing cancer research. He was looking for funding, and he turned, unfortunately, to gangster Rupert Thorne, who pretty much was in who was he in leagues with? I know it was a foreign country, a foreign superpower. What was it? It was from Bilal or some shit.
Oh, Bilal.
Bilal, right? Yeah.
Bilal,
So
Bilal.
he was in leagues with them, and mind you, Phosphorus's wife is an immigrant, and they weren't having that because they were gonna use the data that they researched to pretty much go against America. And
Yeah.
that's how I took it. So he was giving Rupert Thorne false information as far as the data he was collecting for his research. When they found that out, they fucked up his wife and his kid. Like I said, they framed him and they threw him in that fucking chamber. So when he comes out of that thing, man, he fucked everybody up. He took Rupert Thorne and his entire family, murdered them, took over his crime empire. Then he became that cool looking pimp,
The fucking dance though. That
Well, no,
I
blown
died
away,
laughing
people
last
dancing.
night. And that dance,
Yeah,
that song stuck in my head. Jesus Christ!
but the horror within this to me was the constant fight that is going on in Phosphorus' head. It was never really telegraphed, but that's how I saw it because there is still a good man in there somewhere. Because when he found the other child, it brought him back to his kid, and the way he befriended that kid, he went back to Alexander. He wasn't Dr. Phosphorus. If you go back to the title of the episode, it's like Priateliskelet, something like that, which it's a Bulgarian phrase.
Yes.
And what it translates is to a friendly skeleton. And that's what the kid named him.
Yep.
So he did no harm in that sense. Even when the kid's parents came or whatever, he just, all right, let me get the fuck. You still saw he has a shred of humanity in him. And when you saw what he went through, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say he contemplated for a second that he had to kill him.
Right.
You saw that, and actually on rewatch,
subtle
on rewatch, like when before he got turned into put in the nuclear thing, and you heard his laugh, it had been in him. I feel that what was Dr. Phosphorus's because you said his Alexander
David yeah.
I just feel that it was somewhat already in it. I mean, he went to the mafia, so he knew who he was dealing with.
Yeah.
So there might have already been he might already have had some darkness in him, because it was the laugh that he had before all that happened, especially when he snapped. And it was almost the like when he had that laugh when seeing honestly walking in seeing your fucking wife, and this was animated. Yeah. And I'm sorry, for animated, seeing a dead mother and a dead child on top, which would look to be a fucking bloody mess.
Oh man, massacre.
And the way he laughed, it was almost as if he had been waiting for this fucking crazy to come out. I've kept this crazy in, and it's now out. And once he became Phosphorus, he's like, well, fuck this shit. Game on.
Think
it's
about
all
it,
out
bro.
right now.
Who's gonna stop this guy? He don't need to eat anymore. He don't need to drink anything anymore. The guy walks around. Anything he touches, he fucking melts.
I love it when he goes, it looks like I'm smiling, but I'm not.
Again, the great Alan Tudyk also voices Phosphorus.
Yes.
And this guy is everywhere, man.
I love his voicing of him, honestly. He has made Dr. Phosphorus a cool character, which he's done, which Gunn has done with all these characters. Because G.I. Robot, again, we're pulling out of the ass here to put somebody to make him popular.
And out of all the characters, he's the strongest motherfucker on the team, bro. You got thermokinesis, radiation manipulation. Did you see what he did to that tank? Just melted it like butter, and he's mind you, forget the tank. What he did to the poor Smos inside that fucking tank, bro. Come on. They even said it. The ones to look out for is the skeleton. For some reason, they said I think they said Mina for whatever reason, and the bride. Those are your most dangerous characters on the team, bro. Tell me, you saying who's stronger on that team? Who's stronger than Phosphorus as far as like a power set?
I mean, the bride's up there. I mean,
he would melt the bride, bro. He would just grab her face and melt her completely, bro. That's what I'm talking about.
But he would have to get there, though.
He would
have to get there. That's the difference. He can get there, and you know what?
He did to my boy Alexi, bro. He fucked that dude up.
Oh, dude. And he liked him too. He goes, "Oh man, I really like that
guy." That's another thing about this guy, man. When he did to Cersei too, oh man, this guy's just brutal, man.
Oh my god, I died. On rewatch, I died laughing when he fucking grabbed her
I
face and
think
burned it.
now he could obviously because he touches people, so he could control his power set.
Yes, yes.
Let me ask you this: I think he did not want to kill Weasel because when Weasel bit him, Weasel bit him.
could've.
He
You
could have
saw-
killed Weasel. He could have
You
melted
saw
his face off.
Weasel's mouth around the area was
Yeah.
all red.
Yeah, but he
So
could have
it had-
melted that motherfucker.
Oh yeah, he could have just when he bit down, he could have just gone,
Yeah.
just stood there and gone, okay, here you go, and like flare up his arm, and yeah, he could have done it.
And that fight with Rick Flag, I mean, Rick Flag is a pretty much a formidable opponent, senior.
Senior,
That-
I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah, senior, yeah. They had a pretty good fucking brawl. And again, I think if Phosphorus really wanted to, he could have killed him. I think he was holding back.
But that's the whole thing that I'm saying is that because I think that all along Alexander had the dark in him, so his character has fought the light and the dark.
That's a
all
good way
along.
of putting it. You're right.
You
Yeah.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it's that laugh. It was literally, again, this is why sometimes rewatches are opens up your eyes to see more. Because when you watch the episode, a couple of things just kind of hinted there was already darkness in him. So maybe Alexander all along has been fighting this darkness. And now being Phosphorus, he can give into the darkness, but then he reminds himself, don't go into the full darkness.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah, it does make sense because by not going into the full darkness, he still retains that little shred of humanity he has left.
Yep. So let's get into the bride. This character, I mean, listen, this is stalker, this is physical abuse, this is mental abuse. There's all kinds of levels of abuse that the bride was subjected to at the hands of Eric Frankenstein.
Yeah.
And then you have the opposite side of Victor showing her the soft side. I thought it was sketchy. I thought it was sketchy that Victor slept with the bride, considering he was married.
Wait a minute. You okay? Oh, okay. Because he was married.
Because they made him. So
that bride was kind of hot. I don't know, bro.
And the actress Indira Varma is beautiful. I mean, I have seen her in a couple series. Actually, she's been around for a while. I'm glad she's got something like this.
Hello, Game of Thrones.
And oh yeah, she was in Game of Thrones. I'm hoping
I think Andor as well.
I'm hoping that, like I said, since James Gunn said anybody who does the animated, those people are also going to be playing it.
She's right.
That's perfect. I mean, I love the the way that the character is portrayed, but the backstory on her, she was created to be Eric's bride, and poor Eric, who, again, he too should have understood that the bride needs to process things, but he didn't. Thought that automatically she would wake up, become his wife, and it wasn't so. And so she had to deal with this guy who just kept trying and trying, who looked hideous, as opposed to this guy who looks normal, and then Victor gets murdered by Frankenstein.
Oh yeah, he fucked him up.
Oh my god.
Jeez,
when
mutilated that guy.
Well, how do you put it into words? Because I couldn't figure out what the fuck he did to him. But then to be subjected to centuries of this man showing up, you're trying to give another, and that is the story of abuse that women go through, where they escape, they create another name for themselves to hide from somebody. And the bride dealt with it for centuries.
You know what that means?
I don't think I can imagine what centuries.
They showed her during World War II. I'm assuming G.I. Robot probably came across these characters at some point because they were all throughout time, which is cool. I like that little touch.
But just still, and it's just when they're showing you all the years, you're just like, oh
I know
God.
it sucks. Imagine
So
that.
she found happiness, and this motherfucker shows up at the door again.
Yep.
So she's got to fucking shoot him, kill him, fight him, and then disappear again. So you lived your whole entire life this way, and now you're in Bel Rev. So
how did she end up there, by the way?
They didn't give that story either.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, they didn't give that story either. So I'm not sure how she ended up on there.
They'll probably save it. I know James Gunn. He's not gonna leave that hanging.
but just to have this one character go through all this stuff is probably why she ended up becoming one of my favorite characters in the series.
Yeah, same.
I mean,
Strong
she,
character.
you know, she came in this hardcore, like, fuck you, I'm not taking your shit. Along the way, she developed softness. Nina, she got her first friend. You know, she was part of a group of people, and she felt she fitted somewhere finally. And even when Frankenstein showed up, she still took him out on his own, even though she had a whole team with her.
And she's been taking him out all those.
She's been taking him out.
All
That's what I'm
those
saying.
series.
She didn't need to go to them. I'm gonna need your help on here. It was more like, oh, this motherfucker shoots him, and then they're trying to do their job, but she's like, I need to jump out this window right now so I can go blow this motherfucker's face out. I mean, the character, and this is what sometimes is great when you know who the voice actors are, because even though you're looking at the animation, you can visualize who the voice actress is. Listen, if you're not imagining, because we're not talking about him right now, we've been talking about the horrors that the Commandos went through. But if you don't see Frank Grillo when you look at Rick Flag Sr., then you don't have imagination. And comic book
Yeah.
people, we
Yeah.
have imagination. You know why?
Yes.
Because when we get to see what the live person might look like, when we read that comic, when we see that comic, that's what we picture. So Indira,
You know what's interesting though? Before you get into that, you mentioned Frank Grillo because we're gonna move on from him. But when they first revealed the first artwork for Creature Commandos, he had an actual like his sides were all gray and the top was black, his hair. But Frank Grillo was making another movie. He couldn't commit to having his hair two different colors, so
Colors.
he had to go all white. So that's why, and you see him in the animated now, in the actual release version, his hair is all white. It's completely.
I love
gray,
it.
So
I mean, I love it. I love
it's
it.
great. It looks great. Yeah.
But with the bride, there's so many great characters in the series. At least for me personally, Joe the psychologist, because I look at the trauma the character actually went through. Like, all of them went through some shit.
Classic
But
Frankenstein story.
She
to
was
start with,
she
yeah.
she was created to be somebody else's property. Didn't want to be that
Frankenhooker.
person's property, Frankenhooker.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, it's a bride. Bride is one of the stronger characters out of the series, and I really hope, as James Gunn's universe continues to expand, and he brings them in there, to see Indira like full bride when it
Now
goes
that you
to-
mentioned that, Indira as full bride, obviously you would mention James Gunn's picking the actors so they could also appear in the live action. She's gonna be in makeup. Her counterpart though, Frankenstein, David Harbour, who voices the character, that's gonna be a CGI character. He's too big. There's no way.
He'll look like he did for Hellboy. That's an unfortunate
He's
part. by the
bigger
way.
than that though. Did you see how
He's
big
supposed
this
to be.
guy
I
is?
know. He's.
I mean,
like
they'll probably
7.
do like what they did with Hulk in the Marvel. They'll probably take his features and but I don't. It's gonna be a hard
It'll be.
sell.
It'll be. Yeah, on that one
Yeah.
for sure. But yeah, no, like fuck. If you have watched this series, then I'm gonna say, because watching the series as I was watching it the first round, then I watched it the second round. I knew who my favorite was, which was gonna be the bride. All along while I'm watching this, I'm like, fuck it, Rick. Am I right? Is Dr. Phosphorus your favorite, Rick?
Yes, yes. Oh, you know me well, my brother.
Mhm.
You know me well. He is awesome. And what makes him my favorite is what I said. He's got that little sliver of humanity that's just like poking at him consistently all the time. And that's why he's so abrasive towards other characters because he doesn't want that side of him anymore. So, and on the topic of the bride, yes, it's the classic Frankenstein story. We mentioned Frankenhooker. This is a story, it's a character that was birthed to be the pleasure of someone else. This person is dying for companionship and for a romance and for a connection. And he's only thinking about himself, talking about the Frankenstein's
Eric.
monster, Eric. Yes, not Victor Frankenstein. And I love how Victor said, and this was point on. It blew my fucking mind when Victor was explaining that when a baby is born, they're
There's a
they're
connection, a
nurturing
tether.
themselves. Yes, they're tethered to the mother. So they're slowly getting acclimated into the world. But when you're the bride and you just create it and all of a sudden you're just there, that's imagine how much all that information, them feelings, like
Overload.
everything. Yes, bro, that must be fucking crazy. You must be fucked up from the jump from that, bro.
Oh
So
yeah, I mean,
there's a
you
lot
get-
of that's horror to me, man. When I heard that line, like, fuck, I never thought about that shit before, man. But I know you asked me about Phosphorus. Yes, brother, he is my favorite character because I am a horror fiend, and this guy is a horror character, not just an appearance. He fucks you up. I love his power set. I love the fact that he could just melt you like butter if he really wanted to. He just picked a fight with Rick Flag for no, not I don't want to see no reason. But
he wanted
knew,
the detonator.
yeah, but he knew that wasn't gonna end well. But he went toe to toe with him, and like I said, he's a Batman rogue. He's part of his rogue gallery. So and they show he ended up in Bell Reeve
Oh,
because
that's how he got there. Yeah,
that's how he
Batman
got there. They
I
show
love
Batman.
that. I love
was
that
great.
Batman popped in
That was
there
great.
just for a minute.
That was great. That was great. He's such a compelling character to me, and because what makes it really great, like I said, as much of a dick he is, I understand why he is like that. But I love the fact that he wasn't a complete like 2D flat character. He has layers. He has a little bit of his humanity left, and the way they showcased that was with that child.
When I rewatched it again, I ended up because it's funny because the first watch it was all Bride. Second watch, I started appreciating Phosphorus. Do you want to be labeled a monster? I don't think anybody, even the only person, actually the only two on that team I would label monster because of the appearances would have been the Bride and Nina. Well, actually,
Oh,
and
Phosphorus.
You're right. You're right.
He's a
But
flaming stealth.
either way,
I know what you
mean,
mean,
they weren't. So the only one that was created because until we find out how the Weasel came to be,
Right.
as far as created from parts to quantify true monster is the Bride.
She also has, because of Victor, has humanity in her, but she's just stubborn. Like she doesn't like her Nina when she
Stubborn?
told Nina, "No, I lied. We're not friends," or whatever she said to her. She says, but at the end of the day,
I think she
with
lied then.
Nina's death, absolutely, she shed a
That's what I'm
tear.
saying. Yes.
She went back. She didn't kill
Actually-
Cersei because of the end of the world or whatever, or because of this great prophecy that she's gonna ruin the world. She don't give a fuck. She went and killed Cersei because Cersei killed her friend.
Well, I was going to say, like the two things from, especially towards the final episode, is the Bride's development as a character, because all along she came in, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, and then she, became friends with Nina, and when Nina died, she killed the. Was she a princess?
Cersei,
Yeah, she was.
yeah.
No, not Cersei. The
Oh, no,
princess.
I'm sorry. I said Cersei. No, I
know
meant
you
the
did.
princess. I meant the princess. I apologize. Yes.
Yes. But so she killed the princess, but she told the princess, I'm not killing you because of this. I'm not killing you because of that. I'm killing you because you killed off my only friend. And that's what was beautiful about the fucking
Mhm.
Creature Commandos,
Thank you.
is that this team was put together. They're all individuals who are cast-offs who, because of their appearances, are labeled monsters. And within here, they found humanity amongst each other. The Bride telling Nina, you're the only one that can do this as far as going into the water, and basically sending Nina to her death.
A creature from
and
the
the-
Black Lagoon homage, by the way.
Oh,
With the
thank
framing of that
you.
shot and the
Good
yeah.
shout out there. Good shout out. Good job, bro. But she made that decision, sent her friend to her death, and then she laid out why she was going to kill the princess, because she was right. But it was my real reasoning. Fuck the world. I know you're about to. You kill my friend, and you can't live. And I loved how the character. And when you mentioned her crying, which is why I was saying what I said, is because the last shot, and not just that, Phosphorus, Phosphorus looks over and she's got the tears coming out, and the last shot is him putting his hand on her.
Oh yes.
But if you look, it was like 1, 2, 3, put your hand down. She's gonna fuck you up. It's like they knew they knew their boundaries.
Yes.
and Weasel went and then looked straight. It was like the ending,
Beautiful.
the decisions that the bride made as a team leader, it costed her Nina. It made her realize I'm part of something now. And it made all of them realize I'm part of
Yes.
something now.
Dude, thank you. Yeah, you're right.
All
Like,
these cast-offs have now a home.
the last thing I'm gonna say about that, and this was brilliant. I just thought about this now, is that the bride spent her entire life being infallible. So when she's talking to Mina and kind of edging her on to murder this princess, you'll be fine. No, she wasn't fine because she could die. You're undead. You're fine. You can do whatever the fuck you want. But life and in life, there's every choice you make. There's consequences, right? But she never had that because she was already dead. She has nothing to lose. So the fact that she was like, "No, you'll be fine," and when she wasn't fine, I think that she realized, "Oh man, what a mistake I made.
And
It's
not
my
just
fault."
that, she sent the only member of our team to have empathy,
Yes,
to have
she
to
was
have
practically a
more
pacifist.
humanity,
Yeah,
more humanity out of all of us
yeah, good shout.
to go kill someone and tell her because you're a monster. So that's why I think that's why she was crying at the end.
Yeah, she
The
realized she
last
fucked up.
words to Nina was, "You're a monster." This is an Omega. If you have not checked out the series, definitely fucking check it out.
Yeah. Omega for me too. And what I love about this, what I give DC credit for as far as their series, it's adult. It's adult, and not just because they say have cuss words, but they deal with adult themes. It's not just your typical, oh, this person just he got captured and they give him powers and now he's just trying to, he's just trying to avenge his family or whatever. But we see what happens to these people and their families visually, and to me, I don't care what anyone says. When you see that, when you see what happened to Phosphorus's family, you see it. When you see what he goes through, you don't just hear about it, right? I think it adds so much layer to it. It's an Omega. This series was fucking great. It was short. It didn't overstay its welcome. There was no filler. Every episode dealt with a different character, which was brilliant. So you get to, as the series progresses, you get more of a connection with other characters. Whether like Frankenstein, I hated that motherfucker, but that's by design. He's not meant to be a likable guy at all, which
I
is
think
fine.
he's actually. I think if I'm understanding this right, Frankenstein is being set up as one of the antagonists of the first part of the
Yeah.
Gods and Monsters of
He
the
should
James
be.
Gunn universe.
He
I mean,
should
the
be.
guy is fucking powerful.
Yeah.
He's fucking come back every fucking.
Oh, he's an undead. He can't kill this motherfucker.
Like-
And I love how when he's in that plane, he just kills all the fucking pilots and the fucking stewardess, whatever. Whatever.
his lack of like
He- talk
reality
about-
is
yeah,
just so
yeah.
fucking.
He have
You know,
Oh.
like when fucking Break is calling in. You didn't tell her about what I helped.
Oh, that guy was driving me crazy. He was
He's like, you
when Rick
said
Flag-
you were going to tell her that I was going to help you.
when Rick
How
Flag
was she-
said, he's like, shut the fuck up. I'm like, yes, thank you. Shut the fuck up. What I love about the show is, especially working with you, Joe, we see horror where others might not. People think, oh, Creature Commandos is comic books, it's action oriented. No, there's a lot of horror themes and elements.
That's why we
here,
do
and-
this.
and we want to bring those discussions out. So, Joe, with that being said, get us the fuck out of here, brother.
We are